Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the top 5 teams in Regulation F I think that you should try coming back into the format. So, getting straight into it, basically, I wanted to highlight 5 teams that I felt like were strong and provide EV spreads for all of them because I know getting back into a format, it's really hard to obviously get a team together. Now, I will note that a lot of these teams are based off of teams that succeeded previously in Regulation F, but they do have some changes that I personally think are a little bit more optimized. But of course, if you wanted to use a very similar version to what the other players use, I will also be discussing that as well, so you're aware of the changes. So first off, let's start with this team that I wanted to showcase, which is Tailwind Double Genie. So this is a team that Wolf used to win Orlando Regional Championships. This team is pretty strong, right? You're able to leverage the power of Landorus in this format, and Landorus is an incredibly threatening piece on a lot of teams. Now, some creative liberties I did end up taking, which I just want to immediately highlight what those were, is changing the Landorus from Substitute to Sandseer. I feel like the power of Rain Dance plus Sandseer is pretty undeniable. It's pretty strong, and Wolf is typically a player that likes to avoid risk, so that probably has some layers to, or that probably is part of the reason why it's actually like the way it is. And also to Substitute provide some different lines that you can take, especially versus Trick Room, right? So there's definitely options there that you can use. Now, to talk about the actual spreads themselves and what they do, so I EV'd this Fluttermane. So when you look at Wolf's team on his, on stream, it was special attack boosting, which makes sense considering it's no Icy Wind here. So I ended up providing a spread that's able to live a Scarf Surging Strikes from Urshifu, which feels pretty relevant because you want to be able to live that, Surging Strikes from Scarf Urshifu, be able to return the KO with Moonblast. For Landorus, Landorus is also EV'd, but it's EV'd to live a Terra Water Surging Strikes from Urshifu when you go for a Terra Steel as well, so that's pretty relevant and helpful. That's pretty much the main concept of it. Besides that, it's able to just do a bunch of damage and its max speed modest. Fluttermane speed as well, by the way, just quickly going back to that, is going to be fast enough so that it can outspeed opposing Landorus Incarnate. Tornadus is just max speed, and it does have enough defense and HP where it can live a Scarf Surging Strikes from Urshifu. You'll see there's a theme here in what we're doing with the kind of frailer Pokemon, but it's able to live that, but it's still able to return a lot of damage, and it's max speed, so it can Tailwind before an opposing Sash Tornadus Taunt. Incineroar is just running the same set that Wolf was running, which was Safety Goggles and Terra Grass, right? So this Incineroar is decently defensive. As well too, it's adamant nature on this. It shouldn't be adamant nature, I'm pretty sure. Actually, I think it's supposed to be relaxed nature, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna quickly fix that, actually. Sorry about that, guys. But the main idea with this Incin is essentially you're bettering your role, or not relax, sorry, Impish. The idea with this Incin is basically you're going to be bettering your role into the opposing Urshifus, right? When you get hit by a Surging Strikes. And then as well too, you can still do a little bit of damage with this Incin. So 36 speed is obviously going to give you 170 speed when you set Tailwind, right? Which allows you to outspeed Landorus Eye, so you can knock it off first, which is the main idea. Then we have Urshifu here, just 252, 252, just trying to do damage. And then Incineroar running the standard Amoonguss spread that you see on every calc pretty much. Just able to take some damage pretty well, right? It has optimal citrus recovery, and on top of that, just some special defense, so it can take some hits well. So that's pretty much it for this team. Now, the second team I wanted to highlight is Giraffe Double Bear. So basically, this team got second in Charlotte. Actually, funny enough, against Wolf as well. And this team is really strong. It just had a lot of meta development over the course of the format, and it's just a great team for exerting pressure. So we'll kind of go through it one by one. Also, again, I don't know why this thing is timid. I guess I just had a brain fart when I was doing it, but there you go. But anyways, so looking at all the mons, so we have Ogerpon Hearthflame here. It's going to be running a spread that allows it to live Terra Water Surging Strikes from Urshifu. So if you lead it next to Ursaluna and they lead something like Rillaboom and Urshifu, you can't get taken out immediately by a Terra Water Surging Strikes into a Woodhammer. So that's pretty good. And then as well too, it's running Ivy Cudgel, Woodhammer, Follow Me, and Spiky Shield. Gives you redirection, and you're also able to do a good chunk of damage. The speed allows you to be faster than Landorus Incarnate, which is pretty useful here. We have Ursaluna here just running a 252, 252 spread. You're trying to maximize the value of your Blood Moon Ursaluna. The speed will allow you to outspeed pretty much every Incineroar you play versus just a generally very strong mon. In theory, you could try to EV it to be a little bit bulky, but I find that just having it the way it is pretty good. Tornadus is running a Rocky Helmet, so the set on this changes a little bit depending on what it is. Also, I think this Tornadus is probably faster than what a lot of people run on their Tornadus, but that's because I want to have the faster taunt usually when I'm playing a team like this. So This is specifically EV to be faster than a lot of Tornadus. It actually hits 160 speed stat, so it's going to be faster than also some Ogre Pawns that are just creeping landers or around that speed category. Fridge Draft here is going to be used for priority blocking, and it has Citrus Berry, just so it can block priority moves and recover as much as possible. Terra Fairy can wall out Raging Bolt, and on top of that too, it's going to be running that bold nature, so you can just take physical hits well and have it sustain itself on the board. Nick Donnelly, who got second place with this team, was running Imprison. I found to be that Psychic is just generally useful, so I kept it on there instead. Now, Iron Hands on this version that I made has Assault Vest. It usually runs Terra Grass Clear Amulet, but I found Assault Vest is really nice for a stabilizing option for this team. That being said, if you do want to go for the Clear Amulet route, there's nothing wrong with that. Clear Amulet hands is also very strong. Clear Amulet also usually goes towards close combat on their hands over Drain Punch, so that's definitely an option you could take. And then Urshifu with Sash, kind of EV'd as a standard Urshifu. All right, so then we have Dozo Ting Gouging. This core is really annoying to play versus. It's just super bulky, really oppressive, and it's something that can be very annoying to remove the pieces for. So I give a lot of these Pokemon pretty standard or straight up EVs just so they can maximize their value. So we have Chien-Pao here, which is going to be able to, you know, just do a lot of damage, just running that 4 defense, which changes a Surging Strike's role in your favor. We're going to have a Dragonite with Choice Band here, 2/5/2 attack, so you can maximize as much damage as possible. Aqua Jet is really nice for picking off ghost types like Fluttermane when they're low on health. Outrage is just great for strong damage, and then Stomping Tantrum is good to hit something like a Raging Bolt reliably or an Incin reliably if you need to. Gouging Fire is just going to be able to go for those howls to make a lot of these Pokemon stronger. It has enough attack so that at +1 or with Chien-Pao active, it can Heat Crash and KO some Flutters, especially the speed boosting ones that aren't as bulky. Golden Go here with Specs just going to be able to do lots of damage fast enough where it can outspeed a couple of key threats or just most Rillabooms you'll play versus in general, as well too as Max Speed Raging Bolt, although it's not particularly common in this format. You're going to be using Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam, so you can pressure all the dragons in the format. We're going to have Ting Lu here, which is going to be using, it's not Terra Dark, actually, it's Terra Poison. That's my bad, guys. Sorry about that. All these random errors that you're seeing here will be fixed when we actually, you know, put the paste in the description. But yeah, so it's going to be an Impish Nature Ting Lu here, just so you can eat up the damage more reliably. It's pretty useful just for being able to take damage well. Rocky Helmet obviously kind of discourages Urshifu going for that Surging Strikes into Ting Lu, and then Max Special Defense, so you can just really sit there and be obnoxious. Dondozo as well with that unaware ability. You can also consider Oblivious as well. There's kind of just a argument for both. I'd say Oblivious is probably a little more popular in some instances because not being able to be intimidated is pretty nice. The benefit of having something like Unaware is obviously if something's setting up versus you can just kind of ignore that and keep going. But because we're not running Fissure here, Oblivious probably is the ability of choice. But I wanted to highlight both of those for you guys here. The Dondozo is just trained to be very specially defensive, have some defense, and then have a lot of HP. Just makes it really tough to remove from the game. And that's kind of what you want to be doing here with Dozo Ting Gouging. Typically the synergy just comes from you use Dozo and Ting Lu to really slow down, get a bunch of damage, right, and then sweep with your back attackers. Sometimes you can use Gouging Fire in the lead as well. All right, so then this is probably like public enemy number 1 of the format, but it has to be highlighted in at least one of the teams I show you guys. Raging Bolt balance is just so incredibly strong, right? It's really hard to justify not using it in this format. I find that realistically, like when you're using Raging Bolt balance as well, you just have so much control over the games where you can almost always win. Now, the version I wanted to highlight specifically was one that did well in USC, but also was just like really good in general. So it's the Sword Stance Ogerpon version. So basically it uses Ogerpon as an alternative setup option besides the Raging Bolt. So you get 2 options with that. Then using the standard, you know, Incineroar with Citrus Berry, and you have Rillaboom with Fake Out and U-Turn. So you have your double Fake Out core supporting 2 setup guys. Raging Bolt here is EV to be able to live the opposing Icicle Crash from Adamant Chien-Pao, so you can just kind of sit in front of it very comfortably, and then enough speed so you can typically win in the mirror. We're going to have Landorus here, so Landorus is Terra Ground, but usually, I don't know why it's Terra Ground, actually. I mixed it up. Sorry, guys. I'm very careful, and I usually always, like, check over stuff before I, like, hit record, but I realize, like, I just missed like a couple Terras, I guess. Like, I don't know. Terras are really easy to miss. But anyways, so we have Terra Poison here as one of the options. Another option that we could definitely highlight here is Terra Steel. Terra Poison is usually better for just more damage output immediately onto opposing Brilliabooms, and Terra Steel is obviously just better for being able to just like more defensively sit in front of more attacks, right? So I would say realistically speaking, Poison or Steel are both fine. I like the damage output of Poison. Another thing too is Sandseer versus Substitute. You can definitely consider Substitute here because Substitute's a great move to be able to just, you know, receive damage well. As well too, Incineroar here is running Flare Blitz and Knockoff. You can consider Will-O-Wisp over Knockoff. Will-O-Wisp is also really interesting in front of Amoonguss because it can open up lines where you go for Will-O-Wisp into your own Raging Bolt, Block Spore from Amoonguss, right? As well too, you can consider Terra Grass on this Incineroar as well so that you could have another immunity to Amoonguss, but Amoonguss wasn't exactly the scariest Pokemon for a lot of this regulation because of Ogerpon existing. So that's pretty much it in terms of EVs there. Oh, also quickly, quick note on this Incineroar here. It's basically EV, so it can take like a bunch of hits really consistently well. You can opt to go for a different spread that still allows you to live Surging Strikes with Citrus Berry, but this spread obviously just takes like Surging Strikes like nothing. Actually, you live like with a considerable amount of HP left. You can definitely kind of edit it around to have a bit less defense, because I think the minimum you need is 244 HP or 236 HP and 100 defense, I'm pretty sure, which actually, funny enough, this one will be EV'd for. So final team I wanted to highlight, this is the team that ended up winning in EUIC. As well too, it's going to be Download as well. I don't know, Porygon2 is really weird, by the way. I was trying to fix this earlier. It literally will not let me put in Download. I don't know if you guys just saw that, but basically, like, okay, I found this out while I was like looking up Porygon. So if you put in PO to search Porygon, it just doesn't come up. I don't know why that is, but if you only search P, then like it'll come up. So I have no idea why it works like that. But anyways, sorry, that's just like a random note. But yeah, generally speaking, with here, P2 Ursa is just a very, very strong bulky core, has a lot of balanced pieces as well. So you can go for a standard Terraflying plus EQ approach, right? Brave Ursaluna makes sense here because you're not really using any speed control to make Ursaluna faster. So you just rather be as slow as possible. As well too, Porygon is going to be running a Terra Blast Flying again so that you can just really, you know, synergize with that Terra Blast and Earthquake. Then we're going to have Flutter Mane here. So I did make a creative liberty here. I changed the substitute to Dazzling Gleam, so you have a spread option with Flutter Mane. You can opt to go for a substitute Flutter Mane like Nils had. I just found that having the spread option is pretty nice. That being said, though, substitute does let you obviously stall a turn in front of certain attackers, and it can also let you, you know, kind of wall out an Amoonguss. Then we have Urshifu here with Choice Scarf, right? So you're able to just go for a lot of damage immediately. You can go for that U-turn, Terra Water boosted Aqua Jet if you're in a pinch and you need to hit something fast. And then we have our Incineroar here. So I made sure to make this Incineroar fast because Nils' Incineroar was pretty fast on stream. Now, it's probably a little bit different than the one that we have here, but I wanted to still have it be bulky, even though it was, you know, going to be faster. This is 1 point faster than Blood Moon Ursaluna Max Speed Life Orb, so you can knock it off first. And then besides that, right, it has that careful nature, and it has enough defense where it can easily eat a Surging Strikes from opposing Urshifu while still maintaining that speed. And then we have Amoonguss here, just running the standard Amoonguss spread. You'll notice this one does not have IVs lowered in speed, and that's because I found that having Ursaluna to break through redirection first and having Amoonguss to Spore and Trick Room is nice. And then outside of Trick Room, let's say it's an Ogerpon clicking Follow Me, you can go for a Sludge Bomb, knock out the Ogerpon, and then get a Facade into something as well. So kind of just opens up some cool options there. I found to be pretty intriguing. But yeah, that's mostly it for the teams I wanted to highlight today, guys. I found like these teams were both particularly interesting, or like all these teams were particularly interesting and a good place to start in the format. I'll have all the links to the teams and PokePaste down in the description. If you guys enjoy this kind of video, please let me know. Always happy to, you know, make these videos as formats are returning, and really looking forward to Champions, so trying to get in the routine now of, you know, uploading consistently for this VGC stuff. So anyways, guys, appreciate you, you know, tapping into the videos as always. I'll see you guys soon. Catch you later. Peace.